Folks, welcome back to EC3 Really Cooks. I'm Roger Ramsey. I'm the chef instructor here at the Early College and Career Center. Dear friend, co-teacher, and sous chef Bobby Thompson. He's got a lot laid out from him. I've got a little bit. It's December time. So the first thought's Christmas. Some folks celebrate Christmas, some don't. That's fine too. So we want to do something on that theme, but we've done the big Thanksgiving meal. We didn't want to do Christmas dinner, so we're going to do Christmas brunch. We're going to put together a few things. Mr. Bobby's going to make a French toast casserole. I'm going to start with the breakfast bake. We'll do biscuits and gravy, and we're going to do a hash brown casserole. This breakfast bake, easy peasy. It's what meat you like into a non-stick skillet. It's going to go in the oven. We're going to cook it probably about 350, 370 degrees, 20 minutes or so. Then we're going to finish it up with some eggs. Let the eggs cook to your desired hardness. And there you go. It's a Jamie Oliver deal. The recipes will be attached at the end of the show. Jamie Oliver, if you remember the Naked Chef from way back when, he wasn't really naked in the show. He adds tomatoes and mushrooms in his. We're just going to Carnivore's Delight.
Today we're going to make a French toast casserole. There's a lot of ingredients in it, and it goes together pretty quickly, but it's something you need to prepare the day before. We're going to let this rest overnight, and then we'll put it in the oven the next day. First thing we start off with, we have a heavily buttered pan. We took a loaf of bread, a French loaf. We cut it into several pieces, and what we're going to do is just lay these pieces into the pan, kind of overlap them. And in a moment, we're going to put all of our egg mixture together. There we go with that. Our egg mixture starts with 8 eggs, 8 large eggs. Chef Ramsey and some of our intern students are able to crack eggs with one hand and keep on going. That is not a skill that I have mastered yet. I'm just going to show off. Oh, they tell me how easy it is. So we're going to have 8 eggs. We're then going to have 2 cups of half and half. We're going to have a cup of milk. And if you don't have half and half, what half and half actually is half milk, half heavy cream. We're going to have a couple tablespoons of granulated white sugar. Then we're going to have just a little bit of some cinnamon. We'll have a little bit of nutmeg. We have 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then we are going to just mix all of this up.
Mr. Bobby, that looks a lot like a bread pudding, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, it does. Now, I grew up loving French toast, and we have made this recipe a couple of times here. This is just as good. It does take a little bit longer, again, a little bit more preparation, but this will please everybody that eats it. So we've mixed this up really well until it's smooth. You can use a blender if you want to. Not necessary. You're going to mix it until it's smooth though. And then we're going to pour it over our bread. And after you've poured through it, save a little bit. And what you'll do is we're going to, nah, this works. Thank you though. You'll lift up the pieces of bread and just put in some of this egg mixture between the pieces of bread that didn't get coated before. This goes pretty quickly. Just make sure that every piece of the bread is covered with this mixture. And the reason we let this set up overnight, the bread will actually soak up much of this egg mixture and get it all the way through the bread, which then makes every bite taste about the same. And then with whatever you have left after that, pour the rest of it back over. The recipe calls for a 9x13. We didn't use a 9x13. This one works perfectly. And what we will do is wrap this, and then we will set this in the refrigerator to soak overnight. The next thing we're going to do is, let me use this pan over here. We're going to make a topping for it, right? So the first thing we'll need is some butter. You need 2 sticks. And we're going to add to it 1 cup of brown sugar that's been packed in. The reason you want to pack it in, there's a lot of air in brown sugar. By packing it in there, you make sure you get the full cup. We have 1 cup of chopped pecans. If you have chopped pecans and you buy a bag and you don't use it all, store it in your freezer. They keep for a lot longer if you'll store them in there. I've got 2 tablespoons of light corn syrup. And then, same as before, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg, and mix. So this topping, we're also going to put in the refrigerator and set overnight. And in the morning, this actually hardens up a little bit as the butter gets cold again. Oh, by the way, that was room temperature butter that we used. Easier to mix things with it. But we will mix this all together, let it sit overnight. It'll kind of harden up a little bit. And then you basically just crumble this on top of the bread mixture. The next morning, preheat your oven to 350. Takes about 40 minutes. And once all of that is combined together and put into the oven, we have our French toast casserole. Now Chef Ramsey is going to do our next part. Again, our recipes will be at the end of the show. If you have any questions, please contact us. We'd love to help you out.
Now, Mr. Bobby made mention about the prep time being a little bit longer for this French toast. That's kind of the plan. We want to do things that you can either set up the night before, slide in the oven when it's time to eat, or things that are going to go quickly like our breakfast bake. That way you're not missing time with the folks that are coming to see you. Cooking's fun, cooking's great. You want to do nice things for the folks you love, but you also need to go visit while you have the opportunity. So I'm going to do the hash brown casserole next. This is a knockoff recipe from a restaurant everybody knows called Cracker Barrel. And what's in this bowl so far is frozen shredded potatoes, some cheese, sour cream. We've got some sweated down celery and onions. And the recipe calls for, just 1 minute. The recipe calls for either cream of celery or cheese soup. Well, we don't keep those things here. We just don't need them. But what we do have is milk and the ability to make a milk sauce. So this is nothing more than flour and fat, flour and butter melted together. It's called a roux. Then we add milk to it. The flour, the starch in the flour gelatinizes in the milk, thickens it all up, and a little salt and pepper. So instead of using that canned soup, we made our own sauce to go into it. So now we have that's everything that goes in the casserole, easy peasy. What we want to talk about specifically is how to mix this. If you get in there and just beat it all to pieces, you're going to break up all those nice potatoes. That's not a good thing. So what we're going to do is a process called folding. Now, folding's used a lot in the bake shop. We're using it for potatoes here, but it's a process where you come through the middle and fold back over the outside. It still gets everything mixed together, but it's particularly gentle. You're not breaking your potatoes up. So think if you're making crab cakes. Well, crab meat's incredibly expensive. You don't want to break it up while you're mixing it, so you would fold the crab meat into the cakes. Same process. Our potatoes aren't expensive, but it's the exact same process. But it's just through the middle and up on the outside and back over on top of itself. And it will all come together. Mr. Bobby, would you mind handing me another one of those disposable pans? Now, generally in our kitchen, we don't use disposable wares. It's not ecologically conscious, I think. That aluminum has to go somewhere, generally in the landfills. But again, this is a process where we don't want to spend the day washing dishes. We want to visit with the folks that are coming to see us. So once you get all your products mixed together into a pan, and again, we're using disposable. You use what's best for you. We don't want to spend the day washing dishes when we have company coming. And from there it goes into, I think it's about a 400 degree oven for about, 350 for about 40 minutes. And there is your knockoff on the Cracker Barrel hash brown casserole. Give me just a minute to get this in the oven. I'm gonna grab another sheet tray. We're gonna make some biscuits. Folks, we're gonna put together some biscuits as a staple of the South. Biscuits are not technically hard, but there are a few tricks to it. What's in this bowl so far is nothing more than 4 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, we need to add something that's going to cause a leavening, something to cause it to rise. And there they are, my measuring spoons. In this case, we're going to use baking soda, or baking powder. Baking powder is a combination of an acid and an alkaline. When they're mixed together, agitated, what they will do is try to come back to neutral, which causes the release of carbon dioxide gas, which causes the poof in your baked goods. So now we've got the leavening, we need some flavor. For that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. The bake shop's about the only time we use iodized salt in the kitchen. Generally, we're using kosher salt. It's a cleaner taste. It's sharper. It's just better, but for whatever reason, those little bitty granules of iodized salt work better in the bake shop. We're going to need just a little bit of sugar. Let's call it about 2 tablespoons, because you got to make it taste good. What else do we need? That's that. We need to mix these dry goods together, so it's flour, leavening, salt, and sugar. Now comes the biscuit method. The biscuit method in itself is a process of mixing fat into flour. So, like Mr. Bobby talked about measuring his brown sugar, we're going to do the same thing with our shortening. Do you have to use shortening? No, not necessarily. You can use whole cold butter if you wish. You could use margarine. I don't know why you'd want to. Lard makes a wonderful biscuit. Not terribly good for you, but they're very flaky, very tender. So just like with Mr. Bobby's peanut butter, we want to fill the measure cup completely and pack it in. Process of cutting fat into flour, there's a couple different ways to do it. My kids in class, because it's a simple process, I have them use their fingers. It's just a matter of mixing the fat and the flour. I like using a fork. And all it is just keep pushing the fat into the flour. All those fork tines are cutting it through. Buttermilk, well, because we just happen to have some and I like it. So, that's 2 cups or 1 pint of buttermilk. Make a little well in the center of the bowl. Liquid into the well. then start mixing the flour in. This is going to take a minute or two. Y'all bear with me. I'll be right back. We'll roll out some biscuits. I'm sure y'all want to watch me do this in a circle for a long time. Rule for making biscuits: don't overmix your dough. Get it together in the bowl, lay it out, knead it 2 or 3 times, and roll it out. It's just about an inch thick. Dust your biscuit cutter, cut, dust, cut, dust. Don't use wax paper. Wax paper has wax on it. You put wax in the oven, it melts. So once you made a run of biscuits, look, see which side's prettiest, and it goes up. Set your biscuits just so that they're just touching. It's called shouldering. Just a little bit of melted butter across the top, and that's going to help them brown, and everybody likes a little butter. They're going to go into the oven at about 400 degrees for about 12 minutes. And meanwhile, while you weren't looking, I added the eggs to our bake. And so, carnivore's delight. Lots of protein, a lot of fat, but we've got our eggs and all our meats together in one pan. So we'll set that aside. Let's go over here to the hob and let's make some gravy to go with our biscuits real quick. While our biscuits are in the oven, let's go and make a little gravy. This is nothing more than just some crumbled breakfast sausage. Use whatever kind of sausage you like. This is the mild flavor because my wife makes me buy everything mild. If you like spicy, use it. If you like the sage, use it. But we need a couple tablespoons total of fat. So that is the rendered fat from the sausage and a little bit of olive oil. We're going to get it hot, and we're going to build a roux right on top of that sausage. It's not more than just all-purpose flour. Now, while y'all weren't looking, I put some vegetables, some seasoned vegetables, a little trinity, so it's celery, bell pepper, and onion, in with that sausage because, well, we like it. It's cheap and it's a lot of flavor. And add a little salt and pepper. So once your flour is no longer clumpy, it's all taken in by the fat, then we're going to add, this is about a quart of milk. We'll use about 2/3 of it and see what we got. Remember, if you're using a starch as a thickener, particularly flour, it has to come all the way to a boil to reach its full density so that all the gelatinization of the starch granule has happened. And you need to simmer it for a couple minutes just to make sure you cook out all that starch flavor. You cut it short on the cook time. When you go to eat it, you're going to get a gritty texture out of it. It's just those starch granules that didn't actually cook all the way through. And again, folks, this whole menu is stuff that either can be done at the last minute or can be done the night before. Mr. Bobby's French toast casserole has to set in the refrigerator overnight. You just throw it in the oven, it's good to go. The hash brown casserole, it can be put together the night before, throw it in the oven when it's time, you're good to go. Biscuits can even be hella cold as long as they're not baked. You mix them, you cut them, you set them out on your cutting board, you wrap them tight, keep them from drying out, and hold them cold till it's time to put them in the oven when your company gets here. Gravy takes a few minutes to put together, and you saw the sausage sitting here. It had already been cooked off. You don't have to wait to do that last minute. Our breakfast bake, it took about 20 minutes in the oven, and you've got all your meats and your eggs, and it takes care of all your carnivores at once. So, okay, I think that's about it. We're going to turn the heat down, let this simmer for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to start plating some food. Well, Folks, there you go. It's Christmas or anytime brunch. We've got our biscuits and gravy. You saw how easy it comes together. We've got our carnivore breakfast bake. Eggs got a little stiffer than I would like while they were waiting. Our knockoff on Cracker Barrel's hash brown casserole and Mr. Bobby's French toast casserole. Of course, it's French toast. You need a little bit of syrup. And then for a nice decoration, how about just a touch of powdered sugar? There you go, folks. Show folks to people that you love them. Make a little something for them. All this either made ahead or thrown in at the last minute. Don't waste all your time in the kitchen when you got folks coming to see you. I wish you the best. Happy New Year's coming up shortly, and we'll see you again soon. I'm Roger Ramsey. It's EC3 Really Cooks. If you need any catering, remember our class is self-sustaining. We generate our own money through a catering program. Give us an email. It's ec3.catering@hardin.kyschools.us. It'll be attached at the end of the show, or just call us. Thank you very much.